You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial!
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
Hello and welcome to BaaD Radio. BaaD stands for Business at a Distance. This is a show about local businesses and business networking. We are here in the News Radio WFLA Orlando studio for a full 2 hours from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I am your host, Angela Smarito, and in studio with me, we have Melissa Fox, our producer.
Hello.
Hello.
Ooh, look, they're cheering.
I know. I
you
love
have a
it.
fan club.
Our next Melissa is up, Melissa Jacob with Striking Brand.
Next, Melissa. Hello.
She is.
Oh, they're not as happy to see you.
I'm sorry. Hey, guys, could you do a little better?
Oh, jeez.
Thank you.
Our studio audience. I love them. How much do I pay them?
Nothing, but they're very agreeable nonetheless.
Gotcha. So Melissa with Striking Brand, she is our videographer and our co-host. So she has 2 seats here. So you can find all of the episodes of BaaD Radio on baadradio.com. We have the SoundCloud audio, but then we also have the video. And she does a beautiful job. She's been doing it for like over a year now. So that's at baadradio.com. You can also find Melissa's other work at strikingbrand.com.
Mm-hmm.
And our first guest today is new to BaaD Radio. Please welcome attorney Aaron Hines.
Hello, thank you. I'm excited to be on BaaD Radio.
I know, and he actually has his own firm, Hines Law. So that's exciting. Nice. And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Frogger's Bar and Grill. Looking for a place to go with friends or meet new ones? Then you're looking for Frogger's Grill and Bar. With 4 great locations, there's bound to be one near you. Come with friends or bring the family for some food and fun. And don't miss out on Frogger's amazing menu where everything is fresh, never frozen. Oviedo, Mount Dora, Apopka, and Altamont Springs. Frogger's, hopping with food and fun. Next we have up is our networking news. So what do we got today?
All right, networking news. So the networking news is brought to you by Live Your Best Life. Live Your Best Life is an independent advocate for Green Compass USDA certified organic hemp products. They offer a complete range of products, including hemp wellness, targeted health, personal care, performance, even products for our furry friends. To get more information on these products or becoming a consultant, call Terry at 407-616-3145.
And we've actually had some things move forward with that because my daughter, Anna, became an advocate underneath Terry. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to hop on the bandwagon too. So I'm an advocate now for, for Green Compass. So they have like just a whole entourage of CBD products. The ones that I have been using primarily are like there's a cream that's for like aches and pains.
Terry was telling me about this. I did a 1-to-1 with her.
Yes.
I did a meeting and she was like, she said something about a sports team.
Yes.
Yes.
It's her daughter's softball team. They call her the weed lady.
Yeah. She said they all put this cream on because it's the only thing that really helps them.
Yeah.
So.
It's the weed cream, but it's not really weed cream.
Wow.
But the funny thing is that what I found out is talking to people about CBD is one of the biggest things people say is, well, I've smoked pot before. And I was like, there's just a lot of people that really believe that CBD and marijuana are interchangeable with each other.
Still, yeah, it's surprising.
But, yeah, right? Because I thought CBD was just, it's still in the beginning stages, which I didn't realize. I thought it was like more, not as saturated,
Developed.
but but it is. There's still a huge part of citizens, of people that just don't know about it. But for the networking news, what I wanted to talk today is about BNI again. And I know that we talk about it a lot, but the reason I wanted to talk about BNI is because that is how Melissa and I met, but that is also how Aaron and I met.
Yes.
So Aaron, which chapter are you in?
So I'm in the County Line Connections, and when we meet physically, which we don't for every meeting, but when we do meet, we meet in Oakland.
Mm-hmm. So you're a hybrid.
We're a hybrid,
yeah.
So for folks that don't, Oakland it's near Winter Garden. It's on the county line of Lake and Orange County. That's why we're called County Line Connections.
I wondered about that. So you do because my chapter's Power Moves, and so we meet once a month in person, and then we do Zoom for the rest of it. Is that what you guys do?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it's, you get the best of both worlds. Because
I have people that like are highly debatable about that. So
because BNI started, it was all live, and when I joined, was right in the middle of COVID, so everything got shut down, and we were doing all Zoom, and then I felt like once everything got put to a vote, I thought all the chapters were like live.
No,
we're going live.
No, I found out because I'm looking for a chapter for Anna, one that can meet on Wednesdays. So there are some that are still 100% virtual. And then there's a lot that are like Aaron and mine, but I'm finding more and more that have gone back to 100% in person.
Yeah.
So, question: did you lose? How many members do you think that you lost when you decided not to, or to go back 100% in person?
I think that we may have lost. I know we lost for sure at least one person.
I know you lost Kevin, your flooring guy, because he had moved to Mount Dora.
Right. So he wasn't able to like travel every week like that. But. We've kind of picked up, so it kind of was like a wash.
Do you think that you guys would lose some members if you decided to go back?
I think
100%?
so. We had a vote as well, and I was surprised that it went pretty strong in favor of keeping it hybrid.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I'm finding like inviting visitors, it's easier to invite people in person.
Oh, really? I was going to say the opposite.
See, I've had the opposite effect because like for me. When people are like, I'm like, it's your visit's free and it's just a link. They're like, oh, okay. I find it a little bit harder for somebody to come to in person
and like travel and put in that time, and it's a new place.
It's interesting to see people's thought process behind the marketing of it.
So how did you find your BNI group? Because we've talked about this before, but you have a very highly coveted seat in BNI.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So I was actually having lunch with a chiropractor friend over in Winter Garden, and he had told me about BNI, which I've heard of before, but he said, hey, we just had a seat open up for the personal injury attorney.
Which is huge.
Yeah, he said, so you should really, if you're going to join, you should join now. And I wanted, so my office is in Apopka, but I do have.
Winter Guard's not that.
Yeah, it's not too far.
Yeah.
So I try to think that I do focus on that 429 corridor, I call it. And so I thought, well, this would be perfect. And I joined and have no regrets. And it's been wonderful.
How long have you been?
About a year and a half.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd hold on to that seat like it's gold, my friend.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I've been told. So.
So how many members, and like so for the networking news, I know we talk about BNI a lot, but what I was saying before we went live is that like we're here, like the three of us are sitting here right now doing this because we all met through networking and specifically BNI. And so for businesses that are trying to get started, it's so important to find a networking group that is, beneficial. But then, like I said, there is also with BNI, some people are like, oh, it's so structured, but I like the structure. So is that how you feel about it? I mean, do you like the attendancy policy and everything?
Yeah. So I'm not going to lie, that can be a little annoying with the strict,
because for an attorney
policy.
It's a little bit different, right? Because you guys like sometimes have to be on call, basically.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So that's rough.
tricky.
I think what's awesome about BNI is you can have what's called a sub.
Yep.
So you can have other business folks come in. You're not counted as absent. They get to talk about their business, but also talk about yours. So that's what I try to take advantage of.
Definitely. I actually subbed for somebody this week that I have never even met before.
I need to do that more often.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to meet other chapters.
Yeah.
People too.
She has like a CPA firm and she was not able to make it. And she posted in, there's a Facebook group called Cross Chapter Referrals that she posted in there. I need a sub for this day and this date. And I said, look, my calendar, and I could do one. But since then I've set 3 1-to-1s up.
Nice.
And not just for like BaaD radio, but I work for a media firm as well. So it was a great thing to do. And these are, connections that I would either have had to make a cold call to do, or I probably might not even know that they exist.
Exactly. Yep.
So how, like for the 1-to-1s, how often do you reach out and do that? Because I know that it can be a little bit tricky when you're in a category that most chapters have.
Exactly. So, 1-to-1s, which, so for everybody out there, that's basically like a 1-to-1 meeting with somebody. And so I find it difficult to do it weekly, but you just got to do it. You got to put it on your calendar.
Yeah. So I asked you a question right when we were going to break. Yep. So when we get back, we're going to pick up where we left off, and then we're going to talk more with Aaron about his firm. So stay tuned.
You're listening to BaaD Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back to BaaD Radio. This portion of the show is brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore. Spring is in the air, so now's the time to head to Premier Couple Superstore with a huge selection of lingerie, shoes, toys, games, love oils, and a ton of great gifts. Premier Couple Superstore has got what you want, and you don't pay those high prices because you're going directly to the source. And be sure to join their loyalty program for special offers. 5009 South OBT, or shop online at premiercouples.net, because a couple that plays together stays together. So on that note, we're going to talk with Aaron Hines with Hines Law. No,
Oh, gee, wow.
That's the most awkward intro we've ever. So, have you ever been
follow that?
Yeah. Aaron's wife's like, what show are you on, babe?
Exactly.
No, Premier Couple Superstore is one of our show sponsors. So that's what we call a live read. But now we are back. And when we left off, we were kind of talking about one-to-ones with BNI with Aaron Hines with Hines Law. But you know what we're really going to do is we're going to jump into the type of law that he practices and what made him decide to get into it. So I meant personal injury. That is your main focus, right?
Exactly. So the majority of what I handle these days is what we call personal injury, which the majority of, a lot of that happens in Central Florida are auto accidents, right? We have I-4, 429, Turnpike. You see accidents every day. So I help injured folks, people that get into a car accident, that are the party that's not at fault, not the at-fault parties, but not at fault. And I help them to make sure they get the proper medical treatment and that they get paid for their damages. That's what's critical. And then also personal injury is a slip and fall case. If you slip and fall at a commercial building, commercial public place, I pursue that claim as well on behalf of people.
Are those common?
Slip and
falls? It is common, but they're much more difficult, to litigate and to pursue than if you're injured in an auto accident.
Why is that?
Yeah, because there are a lot more factors that go into it. If you're in an auto accident, you're in a vehicle, and typically there's another negligent party.
Right.
So you're not typically interacting with another party when you slip and fall.
Right.
It's usually some object or a building or something like that.
And then you usually have the cops involved. You have some sort of documentation.
Incident report. Yeah, if you're at a business, typically they'll put an incident report, but that's not to downplay that it doesn't have. It happens often. It's very serious.
With the slip and fall.
Slip and fall. Yeah. You can have very serious injuries with those.
But I mean, that's not just. I mean, so you can be at the mall and slip and fall, but you can be at a theme park and you can slip and fall. But I mean, what about employers? Like, is that something that you cover too? So if I'm at work and I slip and hurt myself, or does that fall under workman's comp?
Yeah, so exactly. So the general rule is yes, if it's work related, that's going to fall under workers' comp. Now, if you're in a vehicle, getting back to auto accidents, if you're in a vehicle and you're involved in an accident while working, you'll get treated under workers' compensation, but the at-fault, you may still be able to pursue an at-fault party through the auto accident claim.
So what made you decide to tell us a little bit about your background prior to, I mean, are you from Florida? Where are you from?
Yes,
let's
so,
go. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, so
we're doing a one-to-one, guys.
Okay, so follow
right?
me. You're going to go on a little ride here. So I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
I grew up there.
I don't think I've ever met anybody from Cincinnati.
Really? Okay.
You're the first.
I know. I'm going to check that off of my things on my list.
And I went to law school in Virginia.
Okay.
So a couple states over, right? And that's where I met my future wife. So she's a lawyer as well. I met in law school.
Nice.
She was your future wife then, but now she's your wife now.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And so she said, "Hey, you want to be with me? You got to follow me to Florida." She grew up in Altamont Springs.
Okay.
And so I wanted to make sure I was with her, and I moved to Florida.
Oh, that's so sweet. So Virginia, and you guys both came from different states. So was there like a really big
a good law school? Yeah, law school.
It was a small law school.
Okay.
It was actually a small law school called Liberty University. So,
okay. But I mean,
some of
was
our
it
listeners.
specifically for law?
Oh, yes. It was
Okay.
a law. Well, they have a regular university, but they have a small law school.
Okay.
at
You know
the
what?
school.
That's another. That leads me to another question.
Yep.
Because I never really thought about it. But do all colleges have Can you get a law degree from just any college?
No,
Or okay.
no. Yeah. So, like, for example, here in town in Orlando, there are 2 law schools, FAMU and Barry University. Those are the 2 law schools. And so they're not necessarily connected to a main campus here in town.
Mm-hmm.
They're connected to a campus elsewhere.
Okay. But so what kind of schooling? So you get like your 2-year, then your 4-year.
Okay.
So what
I see
is?
what you're saying.
Yeah.
You get, well, unless you're coming from out of the country, you can go to law school straight if you have a degree from out of
Regular
the country.
bachelor's degree.
Correct. It's got to be a bachelor's degree
Uh-huh.
before you get into law school.
Okay.
Can be anything: biology, political science. Most people.
Really? Okay. So
Yes.
I have a degree. I have a business degree.
Yep.
And
Doesn't matter.
I have an
Okay.
art degree.
You can go. Yeah, my wife had a marketing degree from UCF, and she
You
went to
know
law
what's
school.
so funny is what I think about too is I think about that dumb movie Legally Blonde.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm like I actually learned a lot
Yeah,
about the
oh,
way
yeah.
it works from that movie.
Yep.
Because I was like, how did she get to go to law school? She was like, she had a 4.0 in fashion design or something, and I was like, all right. So, what was the one from there? Was it Yale? Was that is Yale a big one? Or
Yes.
yes.
I think
Okay.
that was that movie.
So you guys met in college, but
Law school, yep.
your law school. So, what field did she pursue?
Yes. So we graduated both and took the bar around the time of what we call the Great Recession, which was
2008,
2009, 2010, that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so she started doing family law.
Okay.
And then I started representing homeowners in mortgage foreclosure. So if you recall, that was really the height of the mortgage foreclosure crisis when a lot of people were losing their homes.
Mhm.
So
Right.
that was sort of my entrance into the legal profession was
When it was
that
getting
crisis.
really crazy. Well,
Yes.
how did that go?
Wow, it was very interesting. I sat with literally hundreds of people and trying to mediate with their big mortgage companies, banks, to try to get them into better loans. It was great. It was real help that you could accomplish, but it was also sad in some
That
circumstances.
seems really
yeah.
stressful
Yeah.
too when it's like a major crisis and it's your
Oh, yeah.
first thing going in.
Yes.
But I mean, they were doing some crazy stuff back
Right.
then. Like they were doing like 100% financing. They were lending like people ridiculous amounts of money
Yep.
with not having hardly any. I mean, Tom and I, we had jobs, but what we got approved to buy our house in Tuscaloosa and Winter Springs was ridiculous.
$5 million.
And then right after we sold it, or right after we bought it, then it's like everybody's hit me up to refi. Your house is now worth $500,000. You know what I mean? I was like, all I saw was dollar signs. I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time though, I was like, ooh, we could make more. We could have more money, Tommy. And but again, like you said,
it was good practice. I mean, it works out because being able to see these people going through this really horrible situation. It's very stressful. I had people crying. They want me to.
Well, they lost their homes, right?
I've had people. I've even prayed for them in the
Mm-hmm.
in the mediation. Like let's get something done so you can stay in your home. But that I can now take that empathy that I've learned from my clients to bring it into injured folks.
Mm-hmm.
Now when they're suffering from actual.
What made you change? Do that change?
Okay, so I was a partner at a law firm downtown Orlando, actually representing insurance companies. So I've had a few different tracks in my career so far, and so that was my last position, representing a big insurance company. I will not mention their name, but sort of seeing how that worked, and then COVID hit, and I said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to actually help people operate my own business. I'm in Central Florida. I have a young family, and I have no regrets. I quit that, opened up with zero clients.
Yeah. What year was that? Did you say?
2021.
So when did COVID help you like reassess?
Absolutely.
Dang, this is another one. We need to start a tally of all the people who reassess their businesses because of COVID.
Yep.
Well,
so many people.
Yeah, COVID is the reason I started business at a
Right.
distance. I mean, it really was what happened
Catalyst.
that made me create the group, and that's again a reason why we're sitting here right now.
Yep.
So thanks for letting us, schooling us on school, because this is stuff that I've never really thought about. But we're going to talk more with Aaron when we get back from the break, so stay tuned.
Yep, like Milli Vanilli. That's right. Bad Radio.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back. This portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Impact Electric of Orlando, who focuses on residential and commercial electrical work. When talking about the quality of work, Impact Electric is one of the best. We use Impact Electric of Orlando for all of our electrical needs, and I would recommend them to anyone. You can call Zach and his team at 407-747-0874. I do believe Zach is actually in your chapter, isn't he?
That's right. He's awesome.
So it's kind of funny how, in the networking world, everybody's kind of connected at some point, somewhere. And it's actually really cool. It's like a networking fam, I guess you could say. All right, so we are here, and we are talking with Aaron Hines, Aaron Hines, and he is a personal injury attorney, and he has his own firm. And so we were talking about the schooling.
Yes.
And so where did we leave off? She said, if you want to be with me, you're coming to Florida.
That's right. Okay. So I guess to give a little background as to how I got into law school or where I wanted to go. Originally, I wanted to do something exciting like international law or international criminal law.
You mean like it's very sexy kind of?
Yeah, exactly.
That's in radio world we call that sexy.
Exactly. It just sounds cool, right? To be able to maybe represent like
lawyer.
an international criminal or something.
Oh yeah.
And then you found out they're all really dirtbags, right?
Well, no. So
what's escalated?
What's great about law school is you get to do internships. So I actually got to intern with a criminal court, international criminal court in The Hague in the Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
And I was assigned to the detention unit where their war criminals were actually kept to make sure their legal rights were protected.
Okay.
So that was very interesting. So I thought I was going to go that direction. I was 3 hours from DC in law school. It makes sense. And then, like I said, I met my wife. Best decision, though.
Yeah, the whole trajectory, the whole trajectory, or what's the right word?
Trajectory.
Yes.
I like how fast he was like, still best decision.
Yeah, still
so glad.
Exactly.
I think that that's really sweet.
Yeah, so
it says a lot about you as a person.
Yeah, so we made, I made my way down to Altamont Springs, Florida, and have no regrets. I've been here ever since.
Just as satisfying.
Yeah.
Didn't want to travel or.
This is where we have a home. We have 2 kids here,
And how old are your kids?
Yes. My son is 9 and daughter is 6.
Nice. That's about the same age difference that mine were. They're 2.5 years, but my daughter was our first and the son was our second. So, so is your wife, I can't remember if I asked that. So she's doing, what type of law is she practicing?
Yeah. So her background is she has practiced family law, and then currently she's practicing debt collection work.
Okay.
Which is very,
now, does that fall under your law firm?
No, not yet. So so she doesn't work at the firm, but someday.
Right.
Someday.
That's your goal is to make that happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually really interesting to have 2 attorneys. I know that one of our sponsors, Andrews Law PA, her husband and her are both attorneys, but she's a personal injury attorney. But he works for the insurance companies on the other side.
Interesting.
Can you imagine what? She
Yikes.
said that they make it work. I was like, okay. How hard is it for you not to bring work home?
Oh wow. It is very difficult. But I think what's great for us is we have worked at the same firm before together. You know, some couples can't work together.
Like under the same roof.
Under the same roof, or for the same company, or doing the same thing, working together. But we've made it work. So.
So that so is she working for another firm now?
Correct.
And then with Hines Law, so you were working for the big corporate person, and then you decided that so because we hear that, like you said, that's a reoccurring type of theme that we have is it's like, hey, this wasn't working because of this, and this, and so I launched my own. But it takes a lot of courage to do that. So. It takes courage. You have to, be prepared personally to take on that risk, right? But that's why, again, I want to, I guess, have a shout out to my wife. She works for another company right now. She pays for
health insurance, that kind of thing, so I could take a risk
Mm-hmm.
and start my own law firm. So yeah, I mean, there are all kinds of things that people don't really think about that I had to think about in 2021. Okay, do I really want to take that risk? But like I said, I have no regrets. I left the prior firm with 0 clients, and
starting from ground zero.
Ground zero, and now I have a small office in Apopka. I have a full-time legal assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
So are you looking to grow even larger, or are you kind of like where you're at right now?
So,
and then I definitely want to talk about some of these legislative changes and how you see them affecting your business.
So I've worked at large firms before,
Mm-hmm.
and I see where people get really frustrated with attorneys when they can't talk to them when they want to talk to them.
Is that where paralegals come in? Is it a paralegal?
Usually, yeah. The big firms,
case managers,
they'll get farmed out to someone like that. And so for me, I told myself I never want to, if I'm going to do this on my own, I never want to have a client be able to complain about that.
Right.
I want them, so, they text me. I have clients that text me at all hours.
But you got to draw the line somewhere, though.
Yeah, there is a line, but there's, like I said, you also have to have that empathy too of what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know it's cliche, but that's how I treat my clients. Like if my family,
that's for real.
No, it's for real. I treat them as family. I treat them, if I was in their position, what kind of assurances would I need? And so that's how I operate.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about, because we talked about it before the show started, about some of the, I think it was slip and fall with the new, because we had talked about the reforms that were coming through. It was House Bill 837. So from what I understand, the majority of it has passed now and it is law. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. As effective, I believe it was last Friday, the 24th, March 24th.
So it was another Senate Bill 2A where it got drafted, put together, went through the House, went through the Senate, and landed on DeSantis's desk with it so quickly that people didn't have a hard, be able to catch their breath. I personally am very disgusted with the whole process, but I'm doing what I can, because through Mindful Media Group, we've launched insurancecompaniesarelyingto.com. We're trying to do what we can to make the public aware of what's happening. So tell us how it's affecting you.
Yeah, so the insurance lobby is very, very powerful,
Mm-hmm.
especially in Tallahassee.
I know, and that's another thing I heard too. It's like, oh, the decision's already made. The attorney, the insurance companies have all the money. They have your money. They have your money. They have my money. It's our freaking money. Yeah. And that's what's so annoying is that they're using our money against us.
Right.
They're using our money to pay attorneys to fight, not to pay us. The whole thing makes me irritated.
And what's sad about that, my father-in-law, who's here in town, he's 80 years old. He just got a premium increase, $5,000 for his home property insurance, up to $5,000. It's a fairly small home, or maybe one claim in his lifetime.
I know, but I mean, even with that, so he gets the price increase, but his rights as a homeowner are diminished.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying is even with the changes that occur every few years, the premiums just keep going up. So it has nothing to do with cost.
Mm-hmm.
There's something else going on.
Oh, absolutely. and like I said, I'm as a Floridian, as a homeowner, I'm thoroughly disgusted by the whole process. And so I'm committed to, you guys are going to see billboards on I-4 that say insurance companies are lying to you.com.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to, Crystal Morris, the owner of Mindful Media Group, we have a mission and nothing's going to stop us. So, they need to just be aware of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the impact of this new law, for example, that you had sort of mentioned, one change was now if you're an injured person and you're found to be 51% at fault, your damages are cut off, meaning you can't.
So it's a cutoff.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
There's no split. It's possible that you will see zero out of that accident if you're found to be 51% at fault.
Now, did you say that was specifically for slip and fall, or was that for both?
No, it's for it could be for
injury.
Any type of accident or injury that would apply to, negligence claim.
Right.
But that will impact slip and fall cases because typically in an auto accident, most accidents, for example, is a rear end accident. So the at fault party is typically found to be a majority at fault, if not 100%. slip and fall, it's a different story. There's, like I said, more factors involved.
Right. I would like to dive into that
Okay.
because I find that pretty interesting and for people to understand what their rights are. So you guys stay tuned. When we get back, we're going to talk more about slip and falls.
Ooh, that sounds fun. Stay tuned. It's BaaD Radio on News Radio, WFLA, Orlando.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Ground Up Property Services. Rick Hall and his team are ready to give your lawn that just stepped out of the salon look. With this crazy weather, and it is crazy, your lawn may not be looking its best. Ask about the new lawn painting service as well. And as always, Ground Up Property Services offers an irrigation membership program to make sure everything that is running the way it is supposed to. You can reach Ground Up Property Services at 407-468-4295 or groundupinc.net. We had the pleasure of having Rick Hall on the show last week, and I think it was like one of my favorite shows.
I loved it.
It was just everything flowed, and you wouldn't really think that talking about irrigation systems would be all that entertaining, but we talked for a full 2 hours about it, and
we found a way.
but I never felt like we didn't have anything to talk about.
Right.
So, all right. So we are here with attorney Aaron Hines of Hines Law, and he is a personal injury attorney. So when we left, we were talking about the effects of these new legislation. So you're going to tell us kind of like how it's going to be affecting your firm.
Yeah. So the big thing is, the insurance carriers are they're going to be able to scrutinize any given accident a lot more with this, right?
So what you're saying is for slip and falls, there's a lot more gray area that they can go after.
Correct. Absolutely. And so that's the big thing. And so if you are involved in that, the other big change too is the statute of limitations. So
what exactly does that mean?
So that's the amount of time you have to have made a claim and basically file a lawsuit for that claim.
And what is that, 2 years now?
So it used to be 4. For the longest time, you had 4 years after an accident, but now it has been reduced.
That seems so
in half.
long. So if I'm like at Universal, and I won't say Universal because I love Universal. If I'm at a park of no name and I fall and I get hurt, I have 2 years to file a claim.
Well, not just a claim, but actually file the lawsuit to preserve that claim. So you have 2 years to file a complaint.
Okay. But that seems like I said, and so is it a good thing that there's less time or bad thing that there's less time?
Well, it's a bad thing because if you're treating and you don't have, for example, enough insurance coverage yourself to get the treatment, or you're going through your health insurance and you have to get referral after referral, that could take a long time if there's a serious injury. So
what would I do if I did say that same scenario? So I'm hurt, my insurance company. So what would bring me to hire you for, like, if I got hurt at a park?
Yeah. Okay. So, and it, like I said earlier, it could be any commercial place, right? Public place that you could there could be a slip and fall. So typically, you want to make sure your rights are reserved. So I think it was mentioned earlier, like an incident report. So if that did or didn't happen, that's very critical to your case if you got injured. And so being able to at least consult with an attorney, a personal injury attorney about that. Hey, here's what happened. I don't think there was an incident report, or there was. I was taken to the ambulance, et cetera. You want to know that early on, because the more time that passes, that videotape is, gone all of a sudden from
Does
this
that really
location.
happen a lot? Like
happen.
evidence just goes bye-bye?
It can, yeah. And so it's important for it to have an attorney involved to put those parties on notice so they preserve that evidence. It's very important.
So you would suggest, like, as soon as an accident happens, to call you?
Yeah, like I said, if there's an injury, right? So that's where, a lot of attorneys can get a bad rap because there are some people that don't get injured, right?
But they put that neck brace on them and make them walk around.
I was going to say, I've seen like videos where people have like taken ice buckets and like thrown it in, and
there's a lot of bad
walk across it.
There's a lot of bad characters out there, a lot of bad apples, and so that's and that goes to my practice where I don't want to be that character, right? And so that's why I'm emphasizing now. Yeah, you have to have an injury. That's the baseline. You have to
Don't
be
call
injured.
me if you're not hurt, is
Exactly.
really what it boils down to.
Yes.
Like I said, I have a total respect for that because that's why we have the systems in place that we do, that we have to fight against. So that's why the people that are actually hurt, that have to fight is because there's been so many bad apples that have made it like false insurance claims. And you've seen it, I've seen it, where they have like the private investigator that's like following this lady around because she's on her fifth personal injury claim, and they show her playing golf and whatnot. So
yes. So that's very important. And again, this is all why if you're listening, it's important to speak to an injury attorney because of these laws, the change in the law. It really does change how quick you can have to move on some of these cases.
And so let's just say, okay, well, I'll be putting you on the spot here. So why call you? Why not call one of those big billboard guys?
Yeah. So, I can say I've worked at a big billboard place before, and, there's a lot of great things that they can offer. But it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, is that direct one-on-one contact, having that, hopefully the guests, everybody listening now can hear sort of a little bit of my background, but just having that one-to-one empathy with the client and the one-on-one contact where you can, call me up and, you're not going to get farmed out to some case manager.
Right. And that's incredibly important.
That's why most folks say they go to me, is because, I'm a local small guy that can give them the actual attention. And, I'm going to tell it to them. I'm a straight talker, so I'm not going to fluff up anything. I'm going to tell it to them straight. And so I think people appreciate that.
Yeah. What have you gotten the majority of your business through?
Yeah. So a lot of it is personal referrals. So my pre-existing networks, right? So we're heavily involved in our local church over in Winter Garden, which I mentioned Winter Garden earlier. And so those connections have sort of blossomed out into other business connections. And so, just getting to be known out in the community. I'm also on a board at the Christian Service Center, which is downtown. They serve the homeless population.
Okay.
So different groups like that I've been involved with, and other attorneys. I know a huge network of attorneys in Central Florida that practice other areas of law. And so if they don't practice what I do, they can make a referral over.
Well, I've noticed, I noticed that some attorneys can be very territorial, but the ones that I see that are the most successful are the ones that are open to having conversation. That, like, we had Jen Andrews and Brooke Bolt sitting not side by side, completely supporting each other.
Yep.
And they both practice personal injury. And so I think that that is going to be a compliment to their business, as opposed to being, like you said, super territorial.
Exactly. And, again, that goes back to, just presenting the best image for our profession. I think, unfortunately, we get thrown this sort of, like I said, caricature of, a used car salesman, which, no offense to used car salesmen, but, you get a bad rap too. So
this is something that I think about. I think about stuff like this a lot, which is a little weird. But when the idea is that when somebody becomes a lawyer, that they're immediately rich. That he
laughed
I can laugh at that.
But I mean, you think about it, like, I want my son to be a doctor or a lawyer. But when you become a lawyer, you have to either go work for one of the big firms. But when you launch your own firm, like Aaron did, you have to go get the business too. So there's like so many hats there. So your people aren't just throwing money at you. You actually have to go find the business, and then you also have to be the person doing the business as well.
Exactly. It's trust, right? So the person has to see, hey, other people have trusted you in the past. That's through reviews and things like that. Or they know someone, or like BNI, for example. They can actually vouch for your credibility.
Yeah. Well, I said that this morning with BNI is because of the accountability of it. I have no problem referring somebody to somebody that's in BNI, even if I've never used them before.
Absolutely.
Because of the accountability part. That means that if they've shown up, they've done their part, and then I think that's extremely a testimonial for BNI. So, all right. So let's talk about how everybody can get in touch with you.
Yeah. So, obviously the website's very important these days. So, you can reach me, find me at the website, all my contacts. You can even message me, chat on my website.
Say it.
What's your website?
Okay. It's HinesLawPLLC.com.
Spell it.
HINESLAW, P as in Peter, LLC.com.
Very cool.
And so you can also find me at that handle, Hines Law PLLC. So at Hines Law PLLC on all the social media platforms. So
And that's
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn.
She made me jump again.
Hey, score.
I'm sorry. Give your cell phone out real quick, too, if you don't mind.
Say that again?
Did you already give your cell phone out?
Oh, okay. So you can text me.
Or your office number?
Yeah, you can text me at any time or call the office. It'll go there, 407-554-4484.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being our guest on BaaD Radio.
Yes, thank you. This is very
I enjoy this conversation so much. So, all right. So everybody stay tuned because we have another hour of BaaD Radio coming up.
You're listening to Radio Cosmos.
All night long.
Bravo! My compliments, little lady.
Commercial.
Break for 30 seconds.
You are now listening to BaaD Radio.
And welcome back as we launch into the second hour of BaaD Radio. I'm going to run through all the regular introductions. And so for anybody who has just joined us, I am Angela Smarito, your host, and we've got our producer, Melissa Fox, in the studio.
Hi.
That is like the saddest audience applause I've ever heard.
You know what? They need fed. Honestly,
Yeah.
they need food.
So if I bring like chips and snacks next time, we might get a little bit more enthusiasm.
Maybe, yeah.
And next to me, we have our videographer and our co-host, Melissa Jacob.
Hello, hello, hello.
And her business is called Striking Brand, and you can watch all of last year's videos. Because did I tell you that we get a YouTube video when everything's said and done too?
No.
Well, I know I didn't do a very good job, Joanie.
I'm going to tell you right now. Now I'm a little scared. There's lots of stuff.
No, we all of our previous episodes are on YouTube, and so if you go to baadradio.com, you can watch them. And then on top of that, you can go to strikingbrand.com to see all of the work that Melissa does. And that, like, did I say that? strikingbrand.com.
Yep, perfect.
All right, so this hour of BaaD Radio, we have an incredible lady in studio with us. Please welcome Joanie Smalley.
Hi, Joanie.
I don't get more applause than that.
I don't know.
Look at all the people.
Well,
Hey,
anyways,
they're happy at least.
She is Main Street Executive Director with the Leesburg Partnership. There, let's bring it. Let's bring it.
Now they're definitely going to want donuts later.
All right, so let's just tell everybody what that means. What is Leesburg Partnership?
So we're a nonprofit. We're a Florida Main Street program.
Mm-hmm.
So we have what is called a Main Street district. So we center our focus on downtown Leesburg. We have 4 things that we focus on. It's economic development, design, organization, and then promotion, which is the events, which we do a pretty good job with those.
Oh, yeah.
Of the city? Of the
Leesburg, we work with the city. We are not a part of the city. We are a partner with the city.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So how I met Joanie is because I've worked with the Leesburg Bike Fest for many years in a bunch of different ways. I mean, I worked with it when I worked here, when I was with WJRR, and then I worked it when I was with my other employer. And so when I left and I'm here with Mindful Media Group, Joanie was one of the people that I called. And from there, when we met, like I said, I think that we had talked a million times on the phone, but this year was the first time we got to meet in person. And I think we were there for like a couple hours.
yeah.
It was just so fun.
Oh, yeah.
But I was really impressed with all of the things that the partnership does. It's not just, hey, we're going to do once a year, a bike fest. So,
Yeah.
but I meant, is the bike fest like one of your biggest?
Oh, yeah. It's our
events?
biggest event of the year for sure. I mean, it's a 3-day. It takes a year long, to plan everything around. I mean, we're already starting to talk about what we would do next year in the logistic part of it and whatnot. So it's a year long process. So, but that is our biggest event. But we have them all year round, other events.
Well, I want to talk about autumn, but let's talk about the bike fest. What are the
Okay.
dates of it?
It's April 28th through the 30th of
Right.
this year. Yes.
So it's coming on, and you said it's a 3-day event. So tell us about some of the events that happens during the event, because it's not just it's bikes, but
Right.
there's music. Yeah.
So we have concerts. We have 3 stages with concerts on them all day. We have biker games. We have bike demonstrations. We have 2 really big bike shows on Friday and Saturday. We have a tattoo expo. That we're
really?
bringing it back. We're working on the the location exactly. We have 2 locations that we're trying to decide which one's going to be better.
So it's an episode where people aren't getting tattooed, but they're showing their work.
They can come and get tattooed also.
Really?
So we're working on that. That is a working in progress because there's all kinds of little.
Well, I know for Earth Day birthday, I always tried to push to have a tattoo person come there, but like with the legalities, they're like, there's going to be some girl with a fake ID that's not going to be 18 years old, and you know what I mean. So it's like some girl comes there with a fake ID and gets a tattoo, and then her mom wants to sue. You know what I mean? So
and we put the way we do a lot of the for this, we would have somebody that would be in there full time in charge of that to be sure that those type of things don't happen. And if it's a vendor that is doing tattoos themselves,
that's on them.
That's on them.
Yep.
And
amen.
And at an event this large, that there are people that come around and do things like that.
Well, also since it's a 3-day event, that also helps because getting a tattoo is a time sensitive thing, so it takes a little while.
Yeah.
Why am I stuck?
I can't even imagine going. You'd have to go sit for a long period of time. So I don't know if the tattoo artists, they're all individual. They do their own thing. I don't know if they want to do little ones and try to get them to come back.
I don't know, but it would be pretty cool though to be able to say I got this tattoo at the Leesburg Bike Fest.
Well, we used to have we did have one in a bigger venue, which in the other part of Leesburg partnership, we are a Main Street program, so we always are very happy to have all the new businesses and whatnot. So the location that we had it at before has now become a pretty thriving business. It's a different part of a bigger company, but so we're happy to have that there. We're sorry that it's taken away from something else, but it's something that's there 365 days a year.
Tell us a little bit about the history of the Bike Fest.
So it started in 1994. I actually started with the Leesburg Partnership myself as a volunteer, so I was volunteering. But my predecessor, he started it. It started right in Town Square, just a small biker event, and it just kept growing and growing into this huge, massive event. And I don't think when he started it, this is what he imagined.
Oh my gosh, not.
No one did in Little Leesburg. Yeah. It started where it was, we're just going to have a keg of beer right here and some bikes come down and yay, very much like a car show, you just, and here it has blossomed into this big, huge, massive event.
Tell Melissa how many people you pull.
Well, it all depends, but it's not like I'm going, everyone hold still. Right. I'm going to count now. But we expect through the whole weekend, we probably at one time could have at the most 30,000 in our downtown. And then it just, it's an in and out drive through. We have people that shuttle in. So, I think throughout the whole weekend, we'll have 150,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
Maybe 100 to 150,000. So
that's huge.
That's a lot. Yeah.
And we brought in, I don't know the year that the headliner started, and obviously they didn't start 3 days, but now we have headliners, bigger bands that come in the evening on Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. So that has changed that.
Let's talk about some of the bands you've had in the past.
Yeah, we've had some pretty good bands. I actually was out to dinner last night, and this gentleman, somebody told him what I did, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, my favorite was we had Vanilla Ice." Everybody was a little nervous.
I remember. Yeah, Uncle Cracker. Yeah, did you have REO Speedwagon one year too?
That was probably in early years. We've had Jefferson Starship. We've had Brett Michaels, Vince Neil. Golly.
So fun.
We have had so many. Marshall Tucker Band was one of my favorite. It was a Sunday afternoon. It was just, they were there another time probably when they were a little younger. But it was such a beautiful, it was like a great way to end Bike Fest. And then last year in November, we had Gentry of Montgomery Gentry.
Yep.
And he was really good. So we've had a little mixture. We've started to bring in a little country now, and
I think that's a great idea.
And well, it's pretty popular.
Yep.
There's country music festivals jumping up everywhere all the time. So That's gone over really, really well. So, but so we're excited. This Way Jennings that'll be here on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a new, but he did really, really well in Daytona. He's got a great following. I'm really excited to have him because it's the first time we've had a headliner comment on our Facebook, my Facebook post.
Yeah, nice.
I was so excited.
Well, I want to talk about that some more because, like I said, this thing has blossomed into just it's such a great event. So everybody stay tuned. When we get back, we're going to talk about more of the fun stuff that's going to be happening at the Leesburg Bike Fest.
You're listening to BaaD Radio. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And we are back, and this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Rachel Roach Realty, a Coldwell Banker Realtor. With a sea of realtors out there, choose one that thinks about you first and not their commission. You can reach Rachel at 407-252-4566. So during the break, Joanie, we were just talking. I'm like, okay, we should talk about this stuff on the air. So I still want to talk about all the activities at Leesburg Bike Fest. So, but let's circle right back around to that. So I asked Joanie on break, let's talk about what a main street is. Mm-hmm. So how would you describe what it is and why it's even there? And I think you mentioned how many Florida has.
Yeah. So somebody just asked me this recently. I think a main street, the best way to describe what main streets do is they help develop community
mm-hmm.
for a city. They're mostly small towns because there are stipulations for you to become an accredited main street. You have to have so many historic buildings. You have to have, there's things that make you a main street, and you have to apply and whatnot. Actually, Winter
you apply
Park,
with what, the state?
The state of Florida. It's
okay.
Florida Main Street. We're under the historic preservation. Winter Park actually just became a main street this last year.
I would have thought that would have been one a long time ago.
Know. This was the first time I got to be sitting on the review to approve them.
That's
so
cool.
It was really exciting to see because I've grown up being able to go over to Winter Park, and I really thought, why aren't they a main street when I for a long time. So I'm real excited that they've come on. But in Orlando, you all have, I think there's 10 to 12 main streets. Mm-hmm. And then you all are, where we're different than Orlando. You all are, they work under the city of Orlando.
Right.
So Kyle, who runs it, just became the director because Pauline just retired. Mm-hmm. So his office is at City Hall.
Okay.
But we actually just had our quarterly meeting here in Orlando. So
and here I am making you drive to O-Town again.
It's fine. It's not that big a deal. But what I think, what makes us different from a chamber are more business to business, but we're developing our community. So that's where our events come in. But we do know the economic development is very important because that's what's going to bring business to downtown. Downtowns, there's studies that show that if your downtown is thriving, it just trickles through your whole community. So we want to
super interesting because you don't really think about when I grew up. I'm from Melbourne, and so that's why I know that Melbourne has one. But I always enjoyed going to downtown Melbourne because of the old buildings. But now they put on some pretty good events over there.
They have two districts. They have Ugali.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, I never knew how to say that.
It's Ugali.
And then Melbourne. But in the state of Florida, we have 57. We're one of the highest number of main streets in the country. So we have one director. She's up in Tallahassee.
There's one director out of all the main streets?
Yes.
Dang.
So she, oversees all of us. It's a very busy job, but she is adding main streets every day. So, there are people that are seeing what this can do, and it brings just that whole feeling that you get, a sense of place for a town. And I grew up in Leesburg, so to me it makes it easier because I grew up there. I have a love for it. I want my children to one day far away have kids and raise their kids there, but if they're listening, just so you know, not anytime soon. But
I'm on the same boat. Not anytime soon.
No. So that's, I think that's the best way to describe a main street is that's, it's your love for your community and you're pretty much showing it throughout the community. It's a feeling.
Mm-hmm. And are you solely responsible for coming up with the events as they happen? I mean, do you sit down and brainstorm, say, hey, you know what? I think that it would be great for us to celebrate this, or let's do St. Patty's Day this year. I mean, is that kind of how that works?
Well, we have a promotions committee, so we have committees and we have a board of directors. So our promotions committee, which does events and promotes Leesburg and the Main Street, that we do that together. It's but I certainly will bring back to the table information where we're a part of. I'm on the executive board for the Florida Festival and Events Association. So we do learn quite a bit there, which is very exciting. So, we'll bring back ideas of things that we can do. I mean, because really that's how all events are pretty much come up with is what other people see. And you just try to piggyback off of what if somebody else has done.
Right, definitely. So, well, I know that like for me in media, when I see campaigns and I'm like, wow, that's really creative. And then I can bring that idea or that concept to somebody else, then they, so I think that like, I don't say copying, but
it's like adapting it.
Mimicking something is like the biggest form of a compliment you can get.
Right.
What are some of the other events that Leesburg Partnership puts on each year?
So I actually am just working on that contract at the same time of this crazy time. We put on the 4th of July for the city of Leesburg. Next Thursday, we have our annual fish fry, which is considered one of our fundraisers. So most of our events, all of them are free, except for 3 events. It's our fish fry, our craft beer,
but I meant they're paying to get food, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not. But everything. These are our only ticketed events. So fish fry is a ticketed event, but it's just like a big Southern fish fry.
It sounds amazing.
Is that because you need like a limited number of people, like a smaller group, or is it because it's just such an expensive event to pull off? Or?
It's an expensive event because, what we do is we sell sponsorships to help pay for some of the food. But then as a nonprofit, I mean, we have to fundraise to be able to pay people like me.
Right.
And I have a part-time person. So, and then we do have contract people that help me put these events on. If I didn't have those people, I would not know what to do with myself.
I meant there's an advertising cost too.
Yeah, well, yes.
I mean,
and we have, to advertise. So the ticketed events that we do, and they help pay for our day-to-day operating expenses.
So it's a 40+ hour a week job, huh? Right about now it's probably 80.
She says emphasis on the plus.
I'm not really sure. I think my 40 hours is when I'm on vacation.
Oh, bless your heart.
But I do. Somebody asked me, I love my job. I have a finance degree. I went to school in Georgia. And I actually said this to my son, who is about to be 24 in June. He said, you don't use your degree. And I'm like, no. I go, can you imagine me sitting in a bank all day? And I was like, no. So
I you know what? I majored in accounting for like a couple, and then I wanted to be an accountant, and then I realized that was going to be my life. Can you imagine me being a bean counter?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I am like, no. But it has come into a lot of help for me, in my job. But I do believe that I love it. And
right.
It is exhausting and it's tiring, but it's worth it because I love what I do.
Yeah, no, you have your energy is great for that, and it does take that. I remember like what it would feel like after an Earth Day birthday and sitting up at the Citrus Bowl and looking down on this crowd of people, and they're all having the best time, and it was very, very satisfying to see that happen.
So when we had our first one after COVID in November, getting up on the catwalk of the stage and looking out over the crowd and seeing all those people.
You're just like, yes!
Yeah, and it was just such a relief for all of us. I mean, our whole team, I made sure that our whole team that puts on Bike Fest came up and just looked and just was able to go, this is what we did.
Oh, you're giving me goosebumps.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean.
It really does. You're just kind of like, and then come Sunday, we're doing that and we're like exhausted. And we're crying like tired.
Yeah. Now it'll probably takes you a good solid 2 weeks to recoup after that. And then, like you said, you're already planning another one. So
Yeah.
I think we are getting ready to come up to a break, but I know you mentioned the fish fry. So before we wrap everything up, though, I want to make sure that we give everybody the contact information. So if they want to come to these events, they know what to do. But like I said, not yet. We're good. We're going to go to break right now. Trying to just get this whole timing thing worked out with you, sister. All right. We'll be right back. So stay tuned.
You're listening to BaaD Radio. For networking and more, go to baadradio.com.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And this portion of BaaD Radio is brought to you by Liberty Property Inspections. Your home is one of your most important investments, so don't trust it to anyone. LibertyPropertyInspections.net, helping you protect your investment. All right, so we are talking with Joanie Smalley with the Leesburg Partnership, and there's just so much to cover. So let's try to be a little bit more organized about it. So we are talking about the events that are coming up when we got to the fish fry. What was the date on the fish fry?
April 6th.
Okay, so April,
Next
the fish
Thursday.
fry is before Bike Fest.
7 days from today.
Oh, dang. Actually, I think I remember that because I was like, can you come to the studio on that day? And you're like, no.
No,
Not going to happen.
Nope.
So after Bike Fest, what's coming up after that?
We have a car show every month, the second Saturday of the month. So we will still have that. That's a couple weeks. We will be hosting the bar at Romac Construction or Lumber Company has a construction. They do a contractors appreciation night for all the contractors that work with them.
Nice.
And they have Sarah Evans coming to perform.
How many people will come to that?
About 1,500.
Oh,
so it's
wow.
the Friday after Bike Fest. So we do the bar for them for that. And then we don't. Our next big event is 4th of July, and then we still have our car show, but then we kind of have a break. But I have my conventions for Florida Main Street and FFEA during that time period. And then we start our new year, October 1, and then we start our events. We're doing a 5K sometime in September with summer sports out of Claremont. So we were supposed to do it last year, but we had a hurricane.
Yeah.
So we had to cancel it. So we were very disappointed. So we're going in this
Okay.
year. So we're doing that, and we're going to change up a couple of our things this year. So be watching out for that. We're going to change our craft beer up a little bit. We're not, we just kind of feel like it's time for some change with it. We have a Christmas house that is it's basically a pop-up shop, but it's open for about 6 to 8 weeks during the holidays. We do our Christmas parade, Christmas stroll.
Fun.
And then we have our Mardi Gras, and then
we're circled back.
And then we're back.
Yeah.
We're back.
So tell me about sponsorships, because the sponsors are really what kind of like fun stuff.
Right. So for Bike Fest, we are very fortunate that Progressive Insurance is our presenting sponsor, and they have been a great partner with us. They really have helped us be able to step up with the headliners, along with Wayne Dench. If Wayne Dench is basically our partner all year round.
Right.
They help us with all of our events. I
love the crew over at Wayne Dench, Jason and Brian Webb, that whole crew.
Right.
They're great folks.
Yeah, we could not do what we do without our partnership with Wayne Dench. It has become invaluable to the Leesburg Partnership. It pretty much has become invaluable to Leesburg. I call it, I'm like downtown. If somebody asks me if they can do something that is not an Anheuser-Busch product, I'm like, no, whatever you do.
Got to stay loyal to the people that take care of you. That's the way, that's the way it is.
I tell them I'm like a NASCAR driver. Don't put a Miller Lite in front of me.
Right.
But without those two big sponsors for Bike Fest, we would be, it would be very, very hard pressed, along with the city and the county that really do help us quite a bit with manpower setting, with all the stuff, that infrastructure that happens before. And then the county helps us with our advertising outside of the county.
But I mean, do you have do you offer sponsorship opportunities for other businesses to get involved?
Yes. So of course we have Gator Harley is a big sponsor for us. They have a venue down there, our Jenkins Auto Group. We've worked with Lucky Used Cycles. We also are working with Rubenstein Law.
Okay.
For Bike Fest, those are our Bike Fest. But then we have local sponsors, and we're working with that for this year to try to bring in some local sponsorships. So with restaurants, we've got Ski Beach Bar and Grill that have come in. And then with all of our small ones, we do have a lot of local. Romac Lumber is one of them. USB, Citizens First. We have quite a number of different local sponsors that really, with all of our annual events throughout the year, we can't do those things without.
Oh no, I understand how important sponsorships is because we wouldn't have a radio show if it wasn't for sponsors.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would love to talk to you about that. I would love to be able to find out what are the sponsorship opportunities because I talk with businesses all day, every day, and the more information I have as far as opportunities for things they can get involved with, the more of an asset that I am to them. And that's really what I want to be. Is I want to be an asset to businesses to help them grow.
So how do you see these sponsors through your events? Do you have their?
Well, so for Fish Fry next week, the sponsorship, the way that they come in is we provide it's a turnkey. So we have people cook all the food, but the sponsors come in, and so UF Health is one of them, and we'll have the CEO of UF Health sit there, and she's serving cheese grits and collard greens.
Oh, wow.
But so we have different ones. Lassiterware will be serving our corn. So you have our sponsors. They just come in, but it's a great one-on-one. You're talking to your actual customer base as you're serving them their food.
Oh, nice.
And as far as the sponsorship, a lot of it is PR for the company. So they get included in a lot of their print. You know what I mean? So when people are when they're advertising those events, they get included. So it's inclusion in this and that. And again, lots of times these bigger companies want to partner with an event like this because it's families. It's a partnership, and so it's very advantageous for them to get involved with them. But sometimes, like I said, a lot of them have those relationships grandfathered in. So some companies have a hard time finding good ones to get in that are strong like that. So, but yeah, I think that sponsorships like that are very, very, very good for the businesses that do them.
And we're lucky in that we have so many different events that we can provide some sort of sponsorship opportunity for just about any company, because those that don't want to be, Fish Fry is a good example. It is a great family-friendly event. We kind of have put it like it's the kickoff to spring, even though that was a couple weeks ago. It's always the first Thursday of April, but it's just there's some feeling about it that just kind of makes you go, it's springtime now, you know? But families are invited, little kids are running around. And so it's just a great, nice event where that's good for some certain sponsors. So we have all kinds of different things that would be great for a sponsor, and we have all kinds of different packages, price-wise. And then, Bike Fest is a little bit different. We do have some larger packages for something like that because it is much more costly, especially when it comes to headliners.
They get a lot more for it,
right?
Too,
right, exactly, because we do a lot of advertising outside of the county more so than right in Leesburg. So it is very it is very important to some of these people that they get that. Progressive really, they're huge in the biker rallies all over the country. So it's very important to them that they get, even in these small little towns, it's a big deal to them because that, is a great customer base for them. And we're kind of talking to them about some other opportunities because we are a lakefront community. So we'd like to, partner with them and maybe create some things that is, because they provide insurance for watercrafts and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So. And then I know we're getting ready to come to break, but people can also buy booths and
okay,
be
yeah.
a vendor on site.
Right.
And so
that's what I was wondering, like if they have a stand or a tent or something like that.
Yeah. We have all kinds of that. We have all kinds of people that are coming and just, like giving away their information or whatnot.
But
so,
you can sell merch too.
Right. We have everything. And we have that at almost all of our events, like some sort of vendor. But Bike Fest. Yeah, Melissa that's what she's doing right now, fitting them all in.
We're like, which
downtown.
Melissa?
Yeah, my Melissa. Right into downtown Leesburg. We'll have we have some pretty big vendors right now. So, but so they cover like 9 to 10 blocks.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things where you can walk block to block to block, and then you just see everything from hot sauces to leather goods to I mean, you name it.
Yeah. Jewelry.
Jewelry's a big one.
You know what's big right now is this IV hydration.
They really? I know it's big, but I didn't think about it for Bike Fest
on Saturday morning and Sunday morning.
It's because people are all hungover and whatnot. All right, so we're going to break, and when we get back, we are going to finish up our hour talking to Joanie Smalley with Leesburg Partnership.
Sounds like fun. Stay tuned. It's BaaD Radio on News Radio WFLA Orlando.
Welcome back to BaaD Radio, brought to you by Premier Couple Superstore, because a couple that plays together stays together.
And welcome back. Want to give a huge thank you to our sponsor, Bolts Legal. Fear no storm with boltslegal.com. 33 tanning spa with locations in Altamont Springs and Longwood. Andrews Law PA, auto accident attorney, andrewslawpa.com, and Crazy Muscle Nutrition in Longwood. Yeah, so speaking of sponsors, like I said, BaaD Radio wouldn't be possible if it weren't for the sponsors. And so I know how that works, and I so very much appreciate everything that they do and supporting the show and making the show happen. So, but yeah, we were talking about like being able to get a booth. Now, is the Bike Fest, so what other events do you have where people can actually get a booth? Like at the car shows? Do they do it at car shows?
We can make it happen for anything.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I like that.
Car shows, the 4th of July.
I want to hear more about the 4th of July. Is there music with that one too?
Well, we do get bands, and we're actually thinking about how to do it a little bit different this year. Because so many people for 4th of July, they go to their own parties. Our ski beach is full. I live in the neighborhood that we do it, but our fireworks go off the basin right there on Lake Harris.
So it's over the water, right?
Beach. Yeah. But it's full. There are people everywhere, but it's kind of like they're having their own little picnic parties or whatever. So we do have a lot of people come. We have a lot of vendors, but not a lot of people were standing in front of the stage watching the music.
Right.
And so we're trying to decide how we can change that up a little bit. And it's kind of been we've always had some sort of music, but it never had like a lot of people standing there watching it. So
I've been to the one that was at Mount Dora, and they'll have like a stretch that you can walk down, and that's where we would set up vendors, and they would do well. But same thing, we had a stage, but everybody kind of like copped a squatted where they were, and they kind of did their own thing. But the food trucks would do really well.
Yeah, the food, the vendors. We have a kid zone.
Oh, they always do really good.
They all do really well. We do a ski show. I mean, so all those things do really well, but it's just, I think people are, they kind of have their own thing. I mean, I'm at 4th of July with my one person that comes and works that with me while my family's off having fun.
But, I guess that's one of the downfalls to being on the partnership is that you never get to actually fully enjoy those events because you're always working.
But like for 4th of July, I think so many things are tradition. So that's why, but we are trying to figure out how we want to do music because you have to have something. You just can't have dead air. So we're trying to figure out what we want to do, how we're going to do that a little bit different this year. And I'm always game for changing things up, because things tend to get static. So I always think change is a good thing.
You've mentioned waterfront a couple of times. So where is that compared to like where your office is?
It is just 3 blocks to the south of us.
And it's a lake?
It's Lake Harris. We're in Lake County, and Leesburg is actually the lakefront community. So downtown is actually on both sides. We have Lake Griffin and Lake Harris.
Really?
We have a street that would connect them called Canal Street because
it's good canal.
Forever and moons ago, that would have been a canal. So
see, that's really interesting because when I think of Leesburg, I don't think of lakefront community. But you were talking about like economic growth and things like that. So that's some of the things that you guys are talking about doing, right?
Yes. So Leesburg has really embraced sports tourism. So we just finished having college softball out at our Sleepy Hollow
recreational
I love
complex.
that. Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah. So, and they've been coming now for quite a number of years, but since COVID, it became bigger because the northern schools came down here and did their entire season in one weekend.
Oh,
We had
wow.
Division I. So we do have Division I in February that comes down. So we have some pretty high-ranking softball teams that come and play out there. So, and it's during a full 6 weeks. So we'll have Division I, II, and III that come out there. We also, the city has invested in our recreational facilities. So we have Susan Street that is in the design phase that will become a 4 to 5 recreational fields.
Nice.
So we'll be able to do soccer, lacrosse, rugby, all kinds of, square, rectangular.
But you're not just talking about for the local community. You're talking about bringing in
people from-
tournaments
right.
and stuff. That's
So it's
awesome.
sports tourism. So
Mhm.
Leesburg's really trying to embrace that. We have our Pat Thomas, which is a historic baseball field.
As I say, I don't know what that is, but it's a baseball field.
It's right there on Lake Harris,
Mhm.
and it's we have it's home to the Leesburg High School Yellow Jackets, but it's also home to the Leesburg Lightning, which is a wooden bat league that plays all summer long.
Well, I'll tell you what, my son plays travel ball, and those facilities that host those tournaments make bank because each team pays out the nose to be there.
Well,
it's so expensive.
And when people are in your community, they've got to get gas.
Oh, yeah.
They pick up lunch. They got to go buy water. They have to do all these things. So it's a huge impact on your community. And when they're over a weekend, they stay at your hotels. But the big deal is we have a lakefront. So we're investing in our lakefront. So we're working on a new marina that will be housed
And
there.
this is all under the partnership. Are you
Well, no,
working
not
with
all.
Okay.
We work with the city on
Gotcha.
it.
Okay.
But we see the economic impact for our downtown and for our community. So we really are trying to embrace that and try to figure out not just events, but things that can help make those bigger, better, and try to get our community into supporting all of this information.
It sounds like you have so much going on. How big is your team?
Our
At
at the office.
Yeah. Is it you and
So
Melissa?
it's me and Melissa is part-time, and we have an accountant. But we do have
You
a
have
lot of
volunteers.
we have a lot of volunteers. We do have contract people that they're awesome. We have a great team that helps put on some of our events. We have a very active board of directors, which really helps quite a bit. And they have been a great support since I've come on as director, and that we really could not have done that without
Well, because
them.
I've worked with other Main Streets before, but I have never seen one to work at the level that you guys do. And I'm not. It's not me like picking on them.
Right.
It's just that I see a lot of. Well, we want to do this, but we don't have the funding. We do this, but we didn't get the quite turn. You know what I mean? And so it's like there's always a solution.
Right.
If you want to make something happen, then you just have to try to figure out how to make it happen. It sounds like
Right.
you've got that covered.
Well, and my predecessor, that was,
Joe,
he was
right?
Yeah, Joe. He was very good at doing that, and it started off small, and everything grew. So that's that it didn't start off this way. So it did take a lot of time to make it where it is now. But we've been in existence since 1994. Where next year will be 30 years.
Mhm.
And growing up there to see what a difference our downtown is now compared to 30 years ago. 30 years ago, it was looking a little desolate down there. And, so to see what has happened in that downtown since then is incredible. And I do believe it's not just the Leesburg partnership that did it, but it is the partnerships that we've had with our city, with our other civic groups.
Right. Well, I think it's awesome that you gave plugs to like Wayne Dench and then to Progressive. Do you want to give any shout outs to any of your other like Bike Fest sponsors while you got an opportunity?
Or Fish Fry.
Yeah, it really, our local sponsors really help us with our day to day. So, our United Southern Bank, Insight, Lasterware, ERA Grizzard, Morris Realty, there's a whole list of them. There is quite a number.
How can somebody find that list?
You can go to leesburgpartnership.com.
Okay.
And it has all of our events. It has links to the civic groups that we work with, every day. And
And that's what our name, we're trying to live out our name. We are partners with everybody.
Right.
So we want to be able to embrace and help all, everybody that we can.
And if somebody wants to get involved with the Bike Fest, is it too late? Like
No.
if they want a booth or anything?
No, we still will take it. Go to leesburgbikefest.com.
Mhm.
That's where our vendor applications are. We have an RV park. It's called, that we house. It's just a small little area that you can do. You have to be self-contained, which I have learned what that is. I have learned things that I didn't know. This morning, I had an electric meeting, and I was sitting there going, okay, what are those things called? Pigtails. I learned all kinds of things. But so we have that. There's some openings there. So we're, and we'll still take sponsors, and we'll do everything we can to promote them.
And I'll get your information. I'll post it on all of my social media platforms as well. All right. Well, that's music means that we're coming to the end of the show. I can't believe it. It goes by so fast. But Joanie, thank you so much for taking the ride over here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, absolutely. And so what you got, Melissa? And give everybody.
Oh, yeah, sure. You can find me at strikingbrand.com or strikingbrand on all social media platforms.
And I am Angela with BaaD Radio, and that's BaaD radio.com for more information about the show. And have a great week.
All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to BaaD Radio.